It's time to strike gold in Thunder Valley. That's right, the NASCAR Cup Truck and O'Reilly Auto Parts Series all go racing at Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend. We get you set with our best bets next, right here on the Backroad.
I don't drive a Monte Carlo, and my truck ain't painted black. It ain't got a big white number 3 turning left around the track. Let's go!
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Backroad. This is In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. Elliot Hicks and Seth Woolcock. Cup Series is done with their off week, and we're headed to the last great Coliseum, Bristol Motor Speedway.
Elliot, what a pleasure, man. I feel like not only in the NASCAR betting scene, and we've been swinging a pretty hot bat, but they're just all falling for us right now. I don't know what's going our way, but, knock on some wood that it is definitely going, whether it's here, whether it's, just building some EV over there in the NFL draft markets, PGA, the Masters happening right now. We've been on quite a heater before John Rahm, decided to fall apart today, but, still licking our wounds from that. But we were even in Pittsburgh on Friday, cashing some nerfies in the Connor Griffin debut. So life is good, my friend.
There you go, my man. And hey, we're swinging a hot bat because we're good at what we do. What else can we say, right? We can let the ego flow a little bit here. It'll be a pretty standard show tonight. Everything you come to know, expect, and love from the Backroad. We'll take a look back in the rear view at the O'Reilly and Truck weekend at the Rockingham Speedway. In our Horizon forecast, we will break down all there is to know about Bristol. And then in our parking garage props, breaking down our best bets for the race weekend at the last great Coliseum, that beautiful concrete oval there in Bristol, Tennessee. Lots of great things going on. First and foremost, the IBT Racing family. That's kind of our pride and joy. It was our baby last year, and now it's really grown up, and it's grown into quite the wonderful thing that we've got going on. Free to join the conversation with all of us, as well as enter into our memorabilia giveaways. $3.99 a month or $36 for the year for our exclusive weekly betting model that our guy Chris Colicchio puts in a lot of hard work to be the main driver of that. You get access also to our full weekly betting cards for the two of us and Chris as well. And then entry into our head-to-head matchups contest, which resumes this week with the Cup Series, even though I swear I've picked more O'Reilly and Truck matchups than Cup matchups. But that's my own decision here. And we still have a couple of giveaway spots too. I want to pop up that little giveaway banner there for you. So we do have a winner of one of those paid spots, Seth.
Yeah, shout out to our guy Redman661. Go ahead and send us an email. You can go to our about page on the website. You can send us an email there, or just give us your Discord username, however you want to contact us through the comments in the video. You can do that as well, whatever your best way. I don't give my number out on air anymore. I've learned that lesson, but congrats. You won, rest of the season. Pretty much an eight month subscription to the IBT family. That's only going to get you everything we have going on there in the racing family. But right now, like I said, still placing some NFL futures, college football going down as well, and everything we have happening in the entertainment family. But cashing some gainers over there too, Elliot. Movie over-unders for the Rotten Tomato score, Survivor 50. Been cashing some bets there too. And then Jake's doing a great job with everything over there in the IBT golf family. So a lot of fun stuff happening there. Redman, we appreciate you. And come on down and get your subscription. And shout out also, Elliot, to all the great people we have in the chat tonight, including Marcus asking, how's everyone's Easter? Who you picking at Bristol? And Skoll is in here early, ready to go, saying, is this Ty Gibbs week? It might be. It just might be. Jamie checking in, saying, vroom. What's up, Jamie? Great to see you once again. And also, Bob Bodner, he's on Ty Gibbs this week for his first win as well. Elliot, popular name. Didn't put him on the thumbnail because it felt a little too obvious, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, like I always say, it's good when we're in the same synergy as the commenters, or when the commenters are in the same synergy as us. Plenty of Ty Gibbs talk to come tonight, as well as a lot of other drivers that we like at Bristol. So not only do you have the family to go along, and we do still have a couple more spots to give away before I gloss over that, right, Seth?
Yes, yep. We'll have 2 more. So go ahead and drop those in the comment, just not in the live chat. We need you to drop in the comment of this video and or any of our racing videos we put out this week. But if you can drop a comment in there, we'll go ahead and take that. We'll put into a random name picker, and then we get a name out. So Redman cannot win. You can't double up though, and you can't win either, Elliot.
Well, I'm already there, so I wouldn't really need it, but might still have to throw my hat in the ring for some of the other stuff. No, we got plenty of good giveaways to come throughout the year too, as well as memorabilia. And hey, again, thanks to our generous guy Trav for donating a couple of those spots there.
Thank you, Trav.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure to get how to enter the giveaway right, because I blew it last week, but we'll pretend that didn't happen. Another good spot that you can catch. It's kind of a catch-all for all of our racing content. Of course, we love everyone who is kind of that catch-all of I want to see the entertainment, I want to see the golf, I want to see the football, and I want to see the racing. You people are awesome. But when you just want to focus on racing, maybe on a Thursday night or heading into a race weekend, the place to do that is the Backroad sub-channel, _Backroad. The Backroad, you can type that in and search it. This video, once it is done being live, will be linked to it. We have shorts over there. We have bonus shows over there. We're going to throw up some more bonus shows there as the racing calendar begins to accelerate into the late spring, early summer. That's the place for all of the racing stuff. So go ahead and subscribe to that if you haven't already. Certainly would appreciate that. Just narrow down the racing stuff. Always a lot of good stuff going on over there too.
Yeah, we're not that far away, man. The week after getting married, we're heading up to Pocono once again as well. So we'll have some on-site coverage exclusively on that channel. And I'm even hearing whispers out there right now. We go to the Fantasy Football Expo every year. We might set up an in-person studio and maybe even rip out a couple bonus back rows while the boys are all together as well. So lots of fun stuff happening over on that sub channel. Appreciate everyone subscribing there.
Hey, man, that's not a bad idea, honestly. Going to be a fun rest of the spring and early summer, like I said, too. That's the best place to get locked in. If you need links more specifically to any of the stuff we're talking about, you can go into the episode description. The direct link to get into the Discord in -betweenmedia.com/chat. And the easiest thing you can do to support us, give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, subscribe to any and all of the channels that you see from us. We certainly appreciate it a great deal.
Absolutely. It's been a great season so far, man, and looking forward to continuing this momentum this weekend, not only at Bristol, but hopefully out at Augusta as well.
Yeah, hey, no doubt about it. Going to be a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and kick this show into full gear, taking a look back in the rear view at the Rock.
Baby, that's how you do it. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. You are the man. No way! We did it!
So we had the O'Reilly Series and the Truck Series racing at Rockingham, and I want to start with the truck race, mostly because it's what made me the most money, but it's definitely a controversial finish over there. Corey Heim dominated the race. Caden Honeycutt in the truck that Heim was driving last year, that Safe Light number 11, really starts to catch him toward the end. A lot of lap traffic, though, in that race, and Corey Heim said he might have had a tire going down, wasn't sure. Either way, Caden Honeycutt was catching him. He was on the precipice of his first career win. The lap traffic they ran into, though, was fellow teammate Tanner Gray in one of the other Tricon trucks. Tanner Gray kind of holds his line, and that benefits Corey Heim over Honeycutt. Heim ends up winning the race, which was great. I had the outright boosted. I had the top 3. I was already in plus money for the week just off of that, without even the other bets that I hit. What do you think about how this finish went down, Seth? I know it sucks for Honeycutt, but it gives me solace because I know that his first win is coming, and even though it could have happened on this day, I don't think Tanner Gray was unfair. I mean, could he have really thrown himself out of the racing line and got out of the way? Sure. But he just kind of held his line, and it just was a bad luck deal for Honeycutt, in my opinion.
Yeah, he probably should have, right? And we all have these moments in life where sometimes like you're afraid to make the move, right? And then you make the move too late and things just get squirrely, right? So I think it was better than making a late move, right? So I at least, give him credit for holding his line. And like, let's be honest, this was the day Corey Heim dominated. Like, Caden Honeycutt had some real speed late in that final run there. But aside from that, this was one that Corey Heim should have had in the bag. I mean, we were probably not that far into stage 2, and he's out there 5, 6, 7 seconds ahead of people. So for me, like it was a fine move. I don't think it has to be the controversy people are making it, but hey, that's just NASCAR racing for you, baby.
Yeah, there's always some crazy stuff to talk about. A little bit of strategy kind of messed things up later in the race. Caution kind of in the middle of a pit cycle. Burn a couple of guys, but really helped the two matchups that I had. I had Gio Ruggiero over Daniel Hemrick at plus 145, Tyler Ankrum over Christian Eckes at plus 190. And those sides that I had on there, I said they were misprices last week. They were kind of pretty close together. And then Hemrick and Eckes were on the bad side of that pit stop. They were not even on the same lap at the end of the race as Gio and Ankrum. So worked out in my favor there. Like I said, in the green before the O'Reilly race even started, which was a plus. You had the Corey Heim top 5 as well. So Corey Heim, just an absolute slam dunk bet. Definitely going to have him on our cards a little later when we get to the truck bets. And the other fun part about Heim too, Seth, is that he's going for the 3 for 3 in the triple truck challenge. Has already won the first two. That I think that's him $50,000. If he's able to get the win this week, it's $500,000 for him in that team.
Insane. What a run from a guy who wasn't even full-time this season and absolutely should be. So it's just been really fun to cash in on it. Shout out to you for those matchups too, because they were good numbers that like I should have just came. Like the numbers weren't really backing them, but when you get matchups that lopsided, specifically that Ankrum one at a 2-1, you got to go for it there. So I like that play a lot, and just a good overall start to the weekend. And dude, like anyone who had season win totals on a lot of people in the truck series, I don't think they were anticipating this many runs from Corey Heim, specifically at the front of the pack.
Yeah, I do think Heim's schedule is a little front-loaded this year, so unless he adds a boatload of races, maybe some openings there. But either way, Corey Heim, with the disqualification of Chandler Smith, who was P4 and then got DQ'd, Corey Heim's the points leader right now, tied with Honeycutt. Ineligible for the chase, not going to get that waiver even if he's running full-time, even if something were to happen where he does get to run the rest of the year, which is not going to happen. But right now, Heim is just whooping everybody's ass, and you have to factor that in. Just like all last year, you have to factor in when Heim is running. He's probably going to be one of the favorites. It is a stacked field this week, so Bristol not going to be easy for him. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit. The O'Reilly race, Corey Day dominates early, gets behind on a series of pit stops, never able to get back up there. Ends up being a bit of a Gibbs show where William Sawalich in the 18 finally able to nab his first career victory. Got to feel good for him. Had kind of a rough rookie year last year, missed a couple of races with concussions as well, but is able to get his first win in the O'Reilly series at the Rock.
Yeah, man, I thought that was really funny because we mentioned William Sawalich on the show because a couple of years ago, we had bet William Sawalich at Dover, which was one of our comp tracks last week, right? So he was someone who was interesting, and like if there were top 10 odds, he was someone I kind of had circle. And I think now we're getting to the point, Elliot, where like we got to move on from that. They're probably not coming back. So it's like we kind of have to adjust our betting strategy. And I certainly think we have by finding different outlets to get invested with. But I would love to hear, like, if you guys had William Sawalich on any ticket, I'd love to see what that outright. I mean, that had to probably be a 30, if not a 40 or 50-1. But it really shows the talent this guy has, right? And we've seen it at different points in his career. Had a couple of runner-up finishes last year. So William Sawalich, very excited to see what he continues to do. And definitely someone I wish I was invested in last week for sure.
Yeah, but it's one of those with Sawalich where I feel like this happens with me a lot with these young guns or guys who don't win super often. Once you win one, then we can kind of, the monkey's off your back. You can maybe rip out a couple more. Once you get that first one, it makes it a little easier. Makes it make a little more sense to keep betting you for outrights, which with how good the Gibbs cars are, I mean, JRM won a boatload of races in a row right before this, but Gibbs and JRM pretty much even to me. And we saw that with Brent Cruz having another really good run. My top 5 didn't turn out because he ended up with some tire issues, I believe. Was the only guy who took 2 and everyone else took 4. So that was enough of a problem already. Another dumb pick decision costing me money. But in any case, Brent Cruz, another one of those kids that his first win could very well be right around the corner as well.
Yeah, Brent Cruz has been very impressive. He's someone, got a lot of flack early in the season, how he was racing some of his fellow Chevy teammates. And he's just, Corey Day. And then Brent Cruz is another guy who's just kind of come on. Didn't get a lot of seat time early in the season. Now he's kind of putting together as well. But I think overall these have been really fun races to watch, Elliot, because you have a lot of these young guns starting to show up. And I would say we've seen more this far into the season from Cruz and also from Corey Day, as we had William Sawalich, right? And like you weren't really betting Sawalich for anything aside from top 10s the last year, and now we can't even bet those. So now maybe we get some more interesting head-to-heads with him weekly.
So Gibbs may have won the race, Joe Gibbs Racing with Sawalich, but JRM is what helped push our betting cards even further into the green. You were in the green. This is my 5th positive week in a row. I don't even know what to do with myself right now. I'm swinging such a hot bat, and long may it continue. Only bet I hit from the O'Reilly race, Carson Kvapil in a group bet. I thought I had his top 5 too when he was running for it, but took a couple other top 5s, didn't take his. There was a late battle between Kvapil, Sheldon Creed, and a third driver who I can't remember right now. But it was Kvapil and Creed were 2 of those guys in that group. So that late battle meant a heck of a lot to me. Was able to hit that Kvapil group bet at plus 260. For me on the JRM side, you hit a JRM bet as well.
Yeah, Gator top 5, man, minus 140, 2 units down on it. Like if they're going to give it to us, and if they're going to give us Corey Heim top 5s at like reasonable numbers, you have to bet him every single week. And that's kind of what we're getting right now. So finished nearly 4 units in the green as well. I think it's my 4th consecutive week in a row in the green. So that's feeling pretty good, man. It's been a good season. Like not a lot of like high highs for me so far, like just like very consistent week over week building that bankroll. So want to keep that mindset here as we continue and head to Bristol. Hey,
so if you hear those same bets and it sounds like it's deja vu, don't blame us, man. They keep hitting. The other topic of conversation that I want to discuss is Cletus McFarland making his debut, qualified near the back of the field and kind of ran back there the whole day. Ends up finishing 32nd in the race, 6 laps down, spins a couple of times, ends up spinning out once for a yellow. At the end of the day, accomplished the general goals, didn't ruin anybody's day, didn't tear up the car, but at the same time, not as much happened as he kind of needed to happen, and it wasn't his best day on the racetrack. So he is not approved to run the O'Reilly Series at Talladega. What's your opinion on the whole Cletus deal? How do you think his day at the Rock went, and what do you think about the decision to not approve him?
If you would have said this is how Cletus McFarland runs at the Rock, I would have said that is a fine day, and that is exactly what I'm expecting, right? I was expecting to finish 30th plus and probably get himself into some situations. He did early in that race, Ellie. He got real dicey, almost spun out, almost then hit off the bottom wall, but collected himself. And we've seen this guy start to put together from an ARCA perspective, right? And that's been great. But with the downforce difference from that car to the O'Reilly Series car, I think this is the right move by NASCAR. This guy means something to the sport. He means something to the fans. Let's not let him hurt himself. Let's not let him hurt someone else as well. I think that's a really mindful decision. And you can tell they care about him. Like they were running the YouTube thing with him last week. So this is a guy who will continue to get more and more reps. But I don't think, like I can understand fans being upset about it, but we're still going to see this guy plenty more in the future.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that he won't be able to go run that RCR car at Talladega because he may well have run up front, but running up front when you're a little inexperienced in a fast car, when you're going that fast, that can certainly have disaster strike. So this is the safe move here. Cletus is still going to run in the ARCA Series at Talladega. And like you said, ARCA's been going well for him. He ran 4th in the ARCA race at Rockingham. He also ran that in that Rhett Jones number 30. Fully approved for ARCA and fully approved for trucks as well, and still can go run the O'Reilly short tracks. We know that Cletus is having a great time with this, wanting to be like Biff and represent him and honor him in all these races. So continuing to run ARCA, continuing to run trucks, very well could see him, maybe later in the fall next year, get that O'Reilly opportunity at Talladega. For now, though, it'll be fun to see all his adventures in the Truck and ARCA Series.
Yeah, we know he'll be going down the front stretch screaming like a bald eagle, baby. That's what he does best.
That's the beauty of it, man. And I'm no Cletus hater, and I don't think you are either. We are glad to see this cat around and hoping that he sticks around for quite some time to come because he just has a great time out there. It's just an infectious energy with him. I almost wish he'd come and run Pocono so we could chop it up with him too.
Yeah, that absolutely. And like, if anything, we want to protect him, right? Like, we just don't want him to hurt himself or hurt someone else. Like, that's the only reason NASCAR is making this decision. But like you're not gonna get like one of the most popular drivers in a long time and just put him in a situation that might be above their weight class. That's all it is. So, if you're a fan of Cletus McFarland, I saw we had, some Cletus fans commenting last week on our Backroad episode. So like, if you're a Cletus fan and you came here for more Cletus content, like he'll be around. We'll keep talking about him because he's a great story and a great dude as well. So happy to have him in the minor leagues for right now.
Yeah, no, that one more point. That probably is the most important, is protecting him, because we saw Connor Zilic miss races from a hit at Talladega last spring. William Sawalich miss races from a hit at Talladega last fall. Last thing we want to do is bust up old Cletus and keep him out of the car. All right, so really fun weekend at Rockingham. Nick checking in saying what's up as well. Thanks for tuning in, Nick. throwing out some race picks. Throw your picks for the Bristol weekend in the chat. And like always, too, whether it's just your picks to win, if you see any good bets out there, have any questions in any particular drivers, we certainly are willing and excited to chop it up with you as we start to look ahead to the Bristol weekend. Let's take a look, set things up in the Horizon forecast. Lots of exciting stuff going on this weekend. First and foremost, in the Cup Series, 37 entries. Our long national nightmare is over. Alex Bowman cleared to race Bristol this weekend. He initially, when it was announced, his most recent update, it included Bristol as a race he would miss. This morning we wake up and we see, hey, Bowman is cleared to race at Bristol. Has been a tough slog for the 48 car with Alfredo and Allgaier in there, but they get their main guy back in the fourth Hendrick car. We'll see if they can continue to improve with their main driver in it. Chad Fincham, the other driver in the 66 in the Cup Series. Any opinion on Bowman this week at Bristol? It's been a decent track for him, but I can safely reveal he's not on either of our betting cards this week, partly because the books hadn't quite caught up to him being back in the race, but still.
Yeah, that was kind of the first issue. If you happen to catch like a long gainer top 10 on him later in the week, I wouldn't hate maybe taking that, just seeing what he has, because this is a pretty good track for him, honestly. I almost wish he would have came back last week or 2 weeks ago. We could have got a little bit of racing under his belt heading into the break, but 9th in the projections right now, B- IBT grade. So he could do a lot worse than Alex Bowman this week. Like, he's not a bad play depending what he's priced in DFS in season-long fantasy leagues.
Yeah, the Kalshi top 20s, if he's on there, might be where I'd consider him, but being out of the car for a while, and Bristol's pretty tough. Not somebody that I'm not willing and eager to throw a bunch of money on him this week.
Also, what happens too if like it comes back and he gets sick again in the car. So just something to keep in mind. Like, I wouldn't be investing in Alex Bowman at least a lot this weekend.
No, definitely not. Lower series, some really good fields this week too. 38 cars in the O'Reilly race. Connor Zilich is in the 1. Kyle Larson in the 88, so that means Quapple races the 9. Carruth races the 32. Playing those musical chairs there in O'Reilly. Truck Series, we talked about how Daytona was an absolutely stacked field. This honestly might top that Daytona race. 37 trucks for 36 spots, and we have 7 Cup drivers in the field for this race. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. coming back in the Nice number 4. Chase Briscoe is going to be in the Tricon 5. Kyle Busch, another run in the Spire number 7. Ross Chastain in the number 45 truck for Nice. Reportedly, he's running the next 7 truck races. So Ross going to be around for quite some time in the truck races. Wow. Christopher Bell back in the other Friesen truck, the 62. Daniel Suarez in a 3rd Spire truck, the 71, coming back this weekend. Carson Hocevar in the 77. Then you also have Corey Heim back in the 1 again, going for that 3rd out of 3 in the Triple Truck Challenge. The colleague free agent truck, the runner-up from Race for the Seat, Carson Ferguson, going to race the 25 this week. Schedule for the weekend. Friday, we have Truck P and Q 330, 750 tomorrow night, the Tennessee Army National Guard 250, 65 120. Saturday, O'Reilly P and Q at 2, Cup P and Q 430. The Suburban Propane 300 O'Reilly race goes green at 748, 85 and 130 your stage lengths there. If you want to go a little double screen action, starting around 8:30, Dale Jr.'s in the Cars Tour race at Nashville Fairgrounds on Flow Racing. Sunday, 311 green flag for the Food City 500 stage lengths, 125, 250. Just wanted to get the procedurals out of the way because I'm sure you have some commentary on these stacked entries in the lower series this week.
Dude, it is insane, man. Like, it makes that truck race really hard to handicap, but really, really fun and one you want to be invested with. But there are legitimately, I would say, 8 to 9 guys, I think, who could win that race. There are some opportunities potentially, like, can I fade Ricky Stenhouse a little bit if he's out there in a matchup? I would love to. Same with Suarez. Hocevar actually is out there in some matchups, I think, who is fadeable. But there are these drivers like Briscoe's pretty good down here. Ross has been solid. Like, I wouldn't be fading him heavy. Like Kyle Busch, he has 1 win, 1 start this season. He's been good here at Bristol in a truck as well. I'm kind of like neutral on Bell, but it's going to make it really fun. And then you got the Corey Hines storyline tied into it all. So that's going to be great. And anytime you get Kyle Larson at Bristol, it's always a good time, and throwing Connor Zilich pulling double duty there as well. You love to see it.
Yeah, they both have had some good runs at Bristol in O'Reilly in recent years. And in that truck field, I didn't mention this about Rockingham. One of the bets that I missed was a Hocevar top 5. He was in that Spire 77. I'd already said I don't know that I want to bet him for the win, but honestly, these trucks might be unreliable to a point now where even betting on them at all could just be untenable. They ran the 7 with Sammy Smith and the 77 with Hocevar. 77 trouble with mechanical issues the entire race to the point where they had to park it. And Sammy Smith in the 7 said on the radio, man, this thing is absolutely undrivable, was nowhere near the front at any point in that race at the Rock. So on the Spire trucks, I'm glad they're going out there having a good time. All 3 of those are going to be a no bet for me, I believe, for throughout the weekend. And you have, again, Nice, we go back and forth on. They're not the top quality trucks they used to be. Christopher ran a couple times in that 62 and has not been, a complete world beater. So that leaves the door open for your truck regulars and for Corey Heim to get that big money. But you have the big names. Doesn't matter what truck they're driving. You cannot ignore them.
If you had to rank the Cup drivers this week in that race, I would probably put Rowdy first. I'd actually put Briscoe second, I think, then Bell, then Chastain, then Hocevar, then Ricky, then Suarez. I completely agree with you. Like, you just can't test or trust those colleague trucks right now. And then at the same time, like, Nice, you were on the train 2 or 3 years ago, kind of taking some shots at Al Nice, and I tried to defend them, but I do feel like those trucks have got kind of progressively worse over the last, 16 to 24 months.
And I didn't even mention the truck on the graphic there. The Malcolm in the Middle reboot comes out Friday night, and Frankie Muniz is going to run Malcolm in the Middle on that truck. The collab we've always wanted, finally getting it at Bristol Friday night.
Yeah, he's also got diecast out, I saw too. So that might be something we have to get invested with as well.
Yeah, that the Panini truck that he ran last week. I hope they make this one too.
That would be great.
It'd be surprising if they get the rights. Hulu King of the Hill reboot was on a couple of race cars last year at Iowa, and there was no merch made for those. So when you start to get involved with TV networks, it can get a little dicey. But if anyone can get it done, it's Frankie.
Yeah, let's go, Frankie. We need you, bud. We need some. We need some Frankie groups or something to have a little feel later on in the season. That's kind of up your lane. Keep an eye out for that. Maybe that's something we can get a little Frankie run one of these days.
Here we go, 33. All right, looking ahead to Bristol, very unique half-mile short track. Again, the last great Coliseum is what they call it. That's how it's set up. Primary comps, you really don't have any. I mean, there are some of the short tracks, and occasionally I can try to shoehorn a Bristol in with like a North Wilkesboro or like a Martinsville or a Bowman Gray. But there's just so many differences there that a primary comp to this place is not really true. And Dover, honestly, is probably the closest comp. The only other concrete, shorter track, Nashville's more closer to the mile and a half than it is to Bristol and Dover. So it kind of leaves Bristol out there all by its lonesome, but plenty of data, plenty of different variables that we've seen to where I'm kind of okay with that.
Yep, it's Dover. I mean, that's the closest thing you're going to get, which, funny enough, that is the All-Star race now. And then the next closest comp that Chris has in here for the projections this week is North Wilkesboro, which is, formerly the All-Star race. And the other closest comp that, like, I would say this would be these are tertiary comps. Dover, I agree, secondary comp. And then I would say North Wilkesboro and then Bowman Gray. That's kind of the next closest thing that we've been to. And then he did also factor in Martinsville and Phoenix into the projections slightly this week as well, only because that 750 horsepower and the short track package that we've seen in 2026.
Yeah, some other changes to the model this week too that we'll talk about here in a minute. But as it's been at Bristol the last couple of years, the tires are going to be a big story once again. Goodyear will bring brand new left and right side tires for the weekend. This new tire setup is designed to minimize the day-to-day temperature swings that Goodyear has seen recently, as well as withstand the track's high speeds and heavy loads. Sounds like Bristol to me. We've seen some races where the tires have worn ridiculously so.
Yeah.
We've seen some races where the tires have not worn at all. Last winter, they did a tire test, one driver per manufacturer, as is tradition. Alex Bowman was the Chevy driver. Bubba Wallace raced for Toyota, and Ryan Preece tested for Ford. The O'Reilly and Truck Series, I should note, they've used the same tires here since September of 2022, and that will continue. But a brand new tire compound, those 3 drivers that tested last winter, the only ones to have run on it. I don't know that the weather in April is going to be the same as the weather in, I believe, November when they did that test. Any advantage to the tire testers and any thoughts on the tire they'll be bringing this weekend?
This is one where I'm really not factoring the tire test, specifically because of exactly what you said, Elliot. Temperature difference. I don't know exactly what the weather is going to be like that down there in good old TN this weekend. But I will say up here in Pennsylvania, it ain't bad, right? So you would think you're going to go further south. It's going to be a pretty nice warm weekend down there. So unless they do get a cold front coming in, no, I don't give an advantage to any of those drivers. And this is also one of those tire tests too. Like this was a while ago too. This wasn't a tire test 60 days ago. This is a tire test that was a good 5 months ago. I will say though, like those teams are going to have more data. So if you do want to get invested with a 2311 lightly, with an RFK who don't necessarily pop in the projections, I think you're well warranted, as well as same with Hendrick.
Yeah, I'd be more confident in Hendrick if not for the Chevy issues that they've had.
Yeah.
RFK and 2311 have been two of the 3 or 4 hottest teams in the garage. We'll talk more about them later as well. A couple of trends to discuss as well. Remember, this is only the 7th next-gen race here. We threw dirt on this place for a couple of springs and had a good old time with it, but got back to the good old traditional Bristol. Next-gen pole winners, Alex Bowman has poled twice here. Then Bell, Blaney, and Allmendinger last fall. Remember, won the pole in that 16.
Oh, yeah.
The next-gen race winners, Christopher Bell won the race last fall. Larson and Hamlin have done it twice, and Chris Buescher won the first next-gen race here without dirt in September of 2022. Starting spots for those winners, you have a P9 in there, a pair of P2s, a pair of P3s, and then Buescher won that race in 22 with a P20 starting spot. Not really expecting that to be as much of a factor. And again, from what you've seen, it seems like a top 3 starting spot, or at very least in the top 10, is going to be better for you. Historically, 21% have won from the pole. Nearly 80% of winners coming from that top 10 starting spot historically.
Yeah, that is high. That is high for anyone keeping score back at home. Usually you're sitting somewhere between a 65 and a 75. So 80% definitely an outlier. And I completely agree with you, Elliot. This is one of those races. It's not necessarily one on Saturday, but this is one you definitely need to position yourself a little bit better than somewhere like Martinsville, where we were a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and I should note too on the tires that probably going to be a less tire wear race. It's not going to be we're not expecting it to be as crazy as the spring of 2024 or last fall, which didn't get as crazy as that first race, but still some high unexpected tire wear. They've set up these tires to still wear a little bit, hopefully more than in the fall of 24 when Larson led 8,000 laps. So we don't quite know what's going to happen, but we're not expecting it to be as nuts as some of those other races were. No overtimes here since 2015, another trend to mention. And we talked about the model, a couple of changes. Chris has thrown in a momentum factor into the model this week, which includes the driver rating and average finish of the last 6 races. Throws in that "what have you done for me lately" that we love so much. And I think it's a really important thing to factor into the model.
No, I absolutely agree. This is something last year that I started to factor in as well from a total speed rankings perspective. So I love Chris doing this in a different way now that especially we've had 4 races that are at least on these traditional ovals.
He did also mention that the career driver rating at the current track is omitted. But again, some drivers, Denny Hamlin's been racing here since 2006. I don't think that a race from the spring of 2006 is going to factor in a whole lot to me betting him this weekend, or even a lot of these guys, 3/4 of the field with an extensive amount of stats here in the pre-next gen era, that it just doesn't translate quite the same. But in any case, the model definitely a lot of good to factor in here. We have 5 A drivers in the model this week, topped by Denny Hamlin. To get the full model, that is a paid benefit to our IBT Racing family, $3.99 a month, $36 for the year, or giveaway spots right now. We still have a couple left. What you want to do to enter that giveaway, leave a comment, not under the live chat, because the live chat and the comments are weird. They're separate. YouTube's a beautiful thing. We want it in the actual video comments. Throw something in there. Congrats again to Redman for winning one of those spots from the last time we did this, and hoping to have more of you enter into this giveaway here in the near future.
You ever chawing some Redman, Elliot? You're getting any Redman going?
Not much of a tobacco guy, but my grandpa a couple years back, big Redman Jim.
Yeah, I've definitely run some Redman back in the day. That was one of the things that, jump in the pickups with your buddy after school and, hey, you need a little pick me up, get it going on some Redman. It's definitely a different experience. But like if I had a bag of Redman right now, I'd probably go cut into that. It ain't bad.
Yeah. Hey, I'll go sit. The most similar I get to that is a nice little pack of Big League Chew, maybe a little swinging sour apple, on the baseball field.
I do love me some Big League Chew, man. The purple one.
Yeah, there we go. They just changed it. It used to be ground ball grape, And then a lot of baseball fans were like, they have all these exciting names like Swingin' and
Yeah.
Slammin' Strawberry and all that. And they're like, oh, you really want to hit a ground ball nowadays. So that now is Grand Slam grape. So if you're looking for the grape, it's now called Grand Slam grape. All right, enough about Big League Chew. We'll get back to racing here. Before we get to the bets, Seth, you're going to let us know about our iFantasyRace.com Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week from last fall's Bristol event.
Yes, we've heard the name a lot already in the show. We've heard the name in the comments as well. It's Ty Gibbs, folks. And Ty Gibbs did finish P10 last summer at Bristol, but that is a very, very misleading result. Performance-wise, Gibbs was the class of the field, but his night was not incident-free, as it sometimes isn't here with Ty Gibbs. In that race, Gibbs finished second in stage one, won stage two, and led over 200 laps in this race as well. Had an average running position of 4.8. That is awesome. Had the best total speed ranking on the day as well. But in that last stage, during the final green flag pit cycle while leading, Gibbs had some major problems coming to pit road, which included him missing it the first time. That cost him a ton of time in the race. So, Elliot, I like Ty Gibbs this week, but I don't like the odds on Ty Gibbs. Like, I would bet my house on a top 10, but there's really no way to get. I think I've seen a minus 190 out there for a top 10. And I think that's probably about as good as I can do. And I can't find a boost to get it any better.
Yeah, that's the thing with Ty Gibbs is, especially this year and at Bristol, he's had the speed. It's just a matter of putting the full race together. Just like with Sawalich in the O'Reilly series, it's once we see it happen, very well could happen a lot more. Just need to see it happen first.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like I was willing to bite at a 14, maybe 13.50, but we'll talk about it more because you actually did bite on a number. But for me, yeah, it's just one of those things. I want to see it a little bit more before. And I've been the guy, I bet Ty Gibbs outrights twice already this season. Like I've been high on Gibbs. He's been cashing us tickets. So this might be the week for it. But yeah, when you're looking back through the model this week and you see, oh, Ty Gibbs only finished P10 in the fall, he was a lot better than that.
Seen that a lot at some of these Bristol and short track races from Ty Gibbs. One more thing before we get into the bets, Seth, want to shout out our partner over at WannaParlay.
Yeah, WannaParlay. They've been awesome partners of ours for a long, long time. And they do a really nice job, Elliot, of creating a fun and exciting competition that really is connecting people. WannaParlay embodies the joy of winning, the heartbreak of almost winning, and all the other emotions that you're going to experience during competition. It's from the brains of two former Kansas State college football players. Go Wildcats, baby. And it's all about stacking legs, competing with real sports lovers like yourself, and getting real cash wins every single day. You can now 1,000x times your money and cash out fast. Are you ready to get in on the game and flex those parlay legs, baby? Download the app for iOS and Android and get a 100% match bonus when you use the code IBT at signup. Again, that's code IBT at signup to get a 100% match bonus at WannaParlay. Link is in the episode description. We appreciate you guys supporting our sponsors like WannaParlay because it helps support us.
Shout out to WannaParlay for the support. Link to all the fun with WannaParlay, with our IBT Racing family and everything else down in the episode description. But we know you want to worry about those links after we get to the bets. So let's go ahead, throw her in park for the parking garage props. Looking at the books for the week, man, we already talked a little bit about O'Reilly and Truck. We'd like to see expanded everything, but they're not going to always give it to us. At the cup level, you're right on that. There are some guys we'd like a little longer odds for, but they're unfortunately for us, because we want the best odds on the books, they're getting a little better at handicapping those guys with speed in a given week and having a better idea of who's going to have speed in a given week, not really giving us those edges on some of these drivers that we'd like to have them on.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with you on that. I will say, though, honestly, from just a value perspective, though, I did think there were some really interesting gainers out there this week. And even some of these shorter favorites, I think, are coming on in at decent price tags from what we've seen lately, at least if you shop it around. Like, that's the one thing. Like, you can't just have one book. I mean, you got to have 7 or 8 if you're really going to get some of these best values. Got to be on the prediction markets. But I was really pleased overall. And, just adapting to life here. AD after the death of our beloved O'Reilly series top 10s and some of those other fun markets for those lower series.
I don't know if they're dead yet. There's a lot going on in sports right now. I have faith as the summer goes on and you pretty much just
You could be right.
Baseball, the occasional UFC fight or whatever. Once you get the playoffs of this, that, and the other done, big golf tournaments out of the way. Hopefully we get some more. But for now, we make do with what we have. And you do make a good point though about not just some of these drivers, like the favorites are getting some decent numbers, but also shopping around the books. I know it can be a pain in the dick sometimes, but
Yeah.
man, it's just I'm sure you do too. But it's like you got to have every legal book in your state, and just I go old school pen and paper. Here's the bet I'm interested in. Caesars is the furthest left. Is the top left of my little iPhone. The book. I just call it the books, little iPhone folder to keep them all in. So I start with the Caesars number, and then 9 times out of 10, the Caesars number gets crossed out when I go to Bet365.
Yeah.
And you have like theScore sometimes has good numbers. BetMGM will throw me a boost occasionally. FanDuel's got some good stuff. And I know Pennsylvania, we're pretty blessed. I don't think a lot of states have 7 or 8 online books like we do in the Keystone State, but wherever you can shop, man, especially in the prediction markets too, because now they get a look from me week in, week out. Got to shop those numbers as best you can.
You have to, man. It's part of the strategy. Like if you're just out here betting to cash bets and not looking to find that CLV, you're doing it wrong. That's a big part of this. We're trying to get, especially of this show, right? So a lot of the numbers I'm taking tonight is I'm worried they're not going to be there after qualifying, right? So that's what we're trying to do over here. We're trying to not only continue to build our bankroll, but also continue to just build our acumen as NASCAR and overall sports bettors.
Hey, and we're not, we're guilty of messing up sometimes too. I have a bet that I still threw in the show that I could have got a better number on at a different book, but I made the mistake of not shopping at first. But a number that both of us did shop, we got to get on our horse here because we are starting off with a squad ride outright for the week, and it's on Denny Hamlin. Who else at pretty much everywhere in the Cup Series right now? Plus 550, the best number we could find at theScore bet. For me, I also have a top 3 on Hamlin at plus 160. And they're both slam dunk numbers to me. He was the first guy I was looking at. He is the top A+ driver in our model this week. And it all makes sense because we are still seeing Denny Hamlin at his absolute best. I mean, this guy somehow is still, you could arguably call this his prime, 2020 to now, where short of about a year-long stint where he wasn't able to get to victory lane, we've seen Denny Hamlin. I believe there's even a stat out there. He's won more races since the time he turned like 35 than he did in that whole first part of his career. And dominance is the word that comes to mind with Hamlin. Has dominated here, was dominant at Martinsville, and probably should have won that race. In the next gen, he's been really strong here. 2-time winner, including when he beat our favorite driver and told the crowd all about it. 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and those were all consecutive before having some troubles last fall, finishing in the 30s. He probably would have made the Asterisk mark report too, but Ty Gibbs is the hot driver for the week. Like I said, top of the model. 5th best average finish of drivers who have run all of the last 4 races here. Corey Heim was P6 or something. We didn't include him in that average data, but Denny Hamlin, you can't even just say he's strong at the short tracks. Denny Hamlin's been strong everywhere. We've already seen him get a win this year. Very well could see 4, 5, 6 more wins from Denny this year, and very well could see his second come at the Coliseum this Sunday.
It's a super interesting conversation that you brought up there, Elliot, just like of the arc of Denny Hamlin's career, right? Because I think it's kind of representative of a lot of people and like the American story, right? Because when you're in your 20s, like, and you make it even to a high level where you find your dream job, your dream girl, gal, guy, whatever, like you're still going through stuff, right? You're still trying to find that stability in life. And as we know, like Denny Hamlin was dealing with some personal stuff back in the day. And I feel like now that he really has gotten his life together and like found that confidence in him, he's at the top of his performance right now. And you look now from a gambling perspective, he has over a 95 IBT grade this week. That's almost like 8 points higher than everyone else. And like we have a bunch of A- this week, like Ty Gibbs, Kyle Larson, Chris Bell. That's kind of that whole next tier. Denny Hamlin is in a tier by himself this week, folks. And I really think he's not priced like it. And I understand a lot of that's because like Kyle Larson at Bristol, right? It's hard to fade Kyle Larson. But for me, like my strategy this week, Elliot, is like I'm just getting tired of, I've been trying to wait for these better numbers to appear after the fact for the number 11 team. You've been on them pre-show here, and it hasn't really worked to my advantage. I've had some plus 450s I've grabbed. I've had some, still close to 5-to-1s that I've been able to get with some boosts. I don't have to rely on that this weekend, though. I don't know, what these books are going to be doing on Sunday, if there will be boost available because of the Masters happening there. And just like with how fast he's on Saturdays now, average starting position of 5.8 in the 4 traditional ovals we've raced, including 2 starts on the front row. I think you need to get invested now. Average start 2 here at Bristol, 4.5 in the next gen. Average finish in the spring races, in particularly 4.0. So I think there's value there. Anything past 5-1 for Hamlin. And also, Elliot, I'm down on a top 5, minus 135 for 2 units. I'm going 1.5 units on that outright. So for me, I just really like Denny Hamlin this week. I think he's someone who needs to be on your card one way or another. And honestly, like I thought 135, or I think I might even got that better. Minus 118, I actually grabbed that at BetRivers, even better. So yeah.
Yeah, pretty solid for a placement prop there too. And I'm glad you're hopping on board at the early numbers, because I know that there can be some advantages to waiting to after P and Q. And we've talked about it with some of my, secondary or tertiary bets, placement props, things like that, where I would have been better off to wait and probably not place a bet after P's and Q's. But Denny Hamlin's one of those safe guys to where, like you said, average starting position of 4.5 probably is going to run pretty decent in practice. Or if he doesn't, going to turn it on for qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
If he starts 4th here, you're certainly not going to get a plus 550, and you might be lucky to get a 4-1.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, a couple more outrights we want to talk about, and it's time to open the Ty Gibbs can of worms. Back on the outright, 9-1 at Bet365. I agree with you. It's maybe a little short of the number for the outright, but I just feel like this week's the perfect storm for Ty Gibbs. I've been on Gibbs way more than I thought I would be early this year. We hopped on him at Martinsville on a Kalshi outright after P's and Q's at somewhere around 14-1. Didn't end up working out for me, but was close enough that I felt all right with it. I have this bet for Gibbs this week. I have a top 5 at plus 140, and I have a group bet over the rest of the JGR cars at plus 320. So I am big on Ty Gibbs. These 3 bets right here are more than I've bet on Ty Gibbs combined the rest of his Cup career. I'm very confident that this week is the perfect storm for Ty Gibbs. He's got the momentum. What have you done for me lately? It's been a great season for him so far. He's got to have all the confidence in the world. This is a great track for him. He's had some really good stats here, and it's not going to be a super ridiculous high tire wear race that favors the veterans. It's going to be more like one of those where, again, they're trying to balance the tire to be the perfect share of wear and not wear, not be crazy wear, not last for 100 laps on, or 100,000 laps on a set of tires here. But I think that it's going to be right in Ty Gibbs' wheelhouse. In the model, tied for 3rd. You're not going to see him that high on most of the models, but he's just been that good here. 5 top 6s in a row this year at Bristol, 4 top 10s, 440 laps led here. Again, all that coming in the next gen era. Led 201 in that race last fall, as we talked about. Had top 10 starts in both races last year too, so it's not putting himself behind the 8 ball, having to go through the field. He's already starting near the front. Average finish has been solid too, 4th best in the series in those 4 races since 2024. All in all, man, I think it's the 54's weekend. I have a lot of faith he gets it done. At the very least, have a lot of faith that he is one of the top Toyotas up there. You're going to know Ty Gibbs was here after all that. This race gets done Sunday night, and it very well could be with that 54 in victory lane.
It could be. It absolutely could be. And everything you just argued is completely defensible. I agree with you. Again, I was hoping to come into this weekend, grab him at a good number. But I think just based on it feels too chalky, right? And maybe sometimes you just take the chalk and but 9-1 for a guy who's never won, even though this is setting up for him to win it. And I will say, Elliot, he has mastered this short track package, dude. He is dialed in on this short track package. The tire wear is also not affecting him as bad, because I think Goodyear's kind of dialed it into a pretty acceptable amount where it's not where we're not crossing the line anymore, but it's definitely more tire wear than we were seeing two or so years ago. And look, the comments back you up here. Nick saying Ty Gibbs or Brad Keselowski this weekend for him. We got Bob Bodner. He likes Kes as well. Maybe top 5 on Briscoe as well to come alive. Does like Hamlin. So yeah, we're kind of in the same mindset as usual, Bob. Buescher from Stan. He likes Stan to win, or Buescher to win, Stan does. And also we like Tyrone Gibbs from Chamberlain as well. And asking a question here from the chat, Elliot. We already kind of touched on this earlier, but no interest either from you or I on a Bowman, really anything, unless it's a long shot top 10 or something.
No, and I'll tie this in. I have a couple of Chevy bets. One of them still for a Chevy, one of them against the Chevy, where I can expand on this a little more. But in terms of Bowman specifically, he did do the tire test. He's been really solid at Bristol in the last 4 races. Again, has pulled it twice. Was going to probably run 4th last spring, blew an engine. Had a chance to win last fall. Didn't quite work out for him on tires. But it's just, he's just coming back into the car after an injury. The 48 team with any driver it's been. And there have been 4 different guys in that seat, and they've all ran like dog shit this year. So they've still got some work to do to be a top 5 race team, no matter who's behind the wheel. Give it a couple weeks. There are some really good tracks for Bowman coming up. I just don't think a top 5 or even a top 10 is worth it for the 48 this week.
I agree with you there. However, I think there is, or at least was, some value out there on one of his teammates.
Is the word here for sure.
Yeah, so I was snooping around earlier today, and we happened to come across a Willie B 30-1 outright at Kalshi. And like, this is why you guys got to keep your head on swivel, be in the Discord, because I dropped it in there. I moved the line myself just because like there wasn't enough action on Byron, and on these peer-to-peers, you can move the line very quickly, very easily. So I moved it down to 24-1. I looked a little bit later. Someone, I don't know if it was you or someone else in the community, got on it, and it went down to 7.
Not me.
Yeah, it went down to 17-1. Where it's still sitting there, at least right before we went live. So still a good place to get invested. But, shout out to Kalshi. That's the worst hang I've ever seen, probably, I think, at a NASCAR book. I've seen him as low as 10-1 this week on books. I've seen him the best number on an actual sport book, DK, 14-1. But I want to go there. I also want to go for a top 10 at DK, specifically -140. I'm a unit down on the outright. I should have laid more, honestly, and 2 units down on the top 10. Byron's been really good lately, dude. Like 4th in momentum rating coming in, 4 straight top 10s at these traditional ovals, average finish of 5.8 there as well. He's the first B driver this week in the projections, comes 6th, just outside that top 5, albeit there is a pretty big gap between that top 5 and Byron in the next tier. But still, you look at some of the comps and what he's done at those tracks. Number 1 in comp average starting position, 2nd in driver rating. So we know he's going to be fast unloading. We know he's going to continue having speed all day, and 4th in total speed rankings across those tracks. Bristol stats, not as good as some of these other drivers. That's kind of the thing keeping him down. You look, though, still 11th in driver rating, 13th in average running position in the last Great Coliseum, top 10 in 50% of his next-gen starts here. So interestingly enough, Elliot, actually, the one thing I was pretty curious to see is, like, how did those other races that he wasn't top 10 go? One of them, he started inside the top 5. And the other 2, he was top 5 by the end of stage 1, right? And just didn't really put a full race together, whether there was issues on pit road, whether it was mechanicals, scrapping with someone when he didn't need to, getting the pit strategy wrong. So I think he will be in the mix. I think it's safe to say William Byron's probably going to be I would imagine, 3rd to 7th place car. That's probably where I comp him at. And I think that's what the projections are telling you too. So if you can just make some better strategies, make some better late race adjustments, I think he could be in that mix. And hey, you might have a 30-1 or whatever you can get it at. Anything I think past 14 is fair for him. So love getting that value early there in the day.
Yeah, man, that was a good pull. I wasn't on there in time to get the 30 or the 22 or whatever it was. And the 17 just doesn't work for me. I think him being the 3rd to 7th best car, that's a little optimistic, but I think you found the perfect way to bet on Byron this weekend. The 30-1, absolutely ridiculous outright number. I don't think there's ever been a better one on this show in terms of combination of outright value for a driver. And then the top 10 too, -140. It's a good play because top 10 seems pretty obvious. Anywhere above that, it would probably be a little optimistic, especially with how Chevys run, which will kind of transition into my Larson top 5 bet, which again, optimistic because it's Larson, but I'm not touching him for the outright. Even this top 5 at -170 was a bit much, but Larson at Bristol, I'm not ignoring that for sure. But all in all, the HMS boys are just in a weird spot right now. I don't really expect any of the 4 of them to have a shot to win this race. Well, have a shot might be a little. I don't think any one of them are going to be the dominant car. I don't think it's going to be a Hendrick-dominated day. Is a better way to put that. Just like we saw at Martinsville with Chase Elliott, you can play the strategies right, end up winning a race by being around. And Larson is definitely going to be the guy who's around because we've seen Larson and Bristol have some of those old school lay it down and take the belt off and whoop everybody's ass. We've seen that a lot here with the 5 car. I just don't think HMS is at that spot at the moment. But you look at Larson here, a pair of wins, a pair of P5s, and a runner-up here before running into some trouble last fall. And in those 2 wins, so back-to-back, the fall of 24, the spring of 25, he didn't just win, he led 87% of the laps in those races, which 1,000 laps, that's a lot of laps. Tied for 3rd in the model with Gibbs. This year, 1 top 5 and 4 top 10s. I feel like he's going to be the best Chevy. I feel like he's going to be the best Hendrick car. How good will it be? Not enough for me to consider an outright, and enough for me to think he's going to run around the top 5. But I think this is my only Hendrick on the card this week, or at least the only one I'm optimistic enough to really bring up on the show.
Yeah, it's a fine play. I just think like instead of betting him at -170, I would just rather go with Denny Hamlin for a top. Just it's less juice, and I just feel more confident, like you said. But it's hard to get to a Bristol race and Kyle Larson not to be running around that top 5, right? I just hope this isn't kind of like the Blaney bet a couple weeks ago that was like too obvious at Martinsville, and he just finishes P6 because someone gets into him late in the race. But nonetheless, like I still like the strategy of, hey, let's bet on the top dogs here. I think we're going to see less top, long shot top 10s than we're used to at this track. And looks like we got a couple more commenters coming in as well. Hunter stopping by saying, I love Brad K and some Denny Hamlin this week. We do as well, my friend. Thanks for hanging out, Hunter. Hope you're subscribed to the channel and coming back every single week. And Blaze Wolf, our good boy Blaze Wolf, saying I'm high on Ty as well as Rowdy and Heim for the truck. So a lot of Ty Gibbs love, man. It's scaring me. It is scaring
good reason,
me.
man, for good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. What else do you have as far as placement props, man?
So you just mentioned Blaney top 5 that kind of got shot in the foot. I'm going with it again and even money on Bet. I swear to God, this has been on my card every week, and it's going to be on my card most every week, from here on out. Blaney's just we send it back to the power rankings we did over the winter. He was our top driver across the board. He's Denny Hamlin's run great. We've seen Larson run great at times. Coming up on almost a full year without a win, though, Kyle Larson. Remember, one of my bold predictions was Larson still hasn't won in a Pocono. Anyway, the Ryan Blaney top 5. I'm trailing off because it's just the easiest bet of the week each week. I don't have a lot to throw into it because it just feels like such a slam dunk. And I know you have those deals like Martinsville where you get shoved into the wall and you finish 6th. That was in a battle for like 2nd or 3rd place. So Blaney in the top 5 at most tracks is a good idea. At a track where he's got the stats like he does at Bristol, a very good idea. P5 in the model. So if you want to go strictly by the model, bang, top 5 right there. Last 3 races here, P4, P5, P6. That's good enough for me. Averages out to a 5th place. Bang, good right there. P3 and P6 the last 2 weeks. And again, that 6 should have been a top 5, and the 3rd was a top 5. And then before that, Darlington didn't go so well, but then you have a win at Phoenix, which is one of our tertiary comps. All that to say, Blaney top 5, easiest bet of the week.
Yeah, unless you're like glazing Brad K too, I think a top 4 bet.
I'll get there. Top 4 that was a good idea. I'll get to RFK here. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah, but I was just saying, like, unless you're glazing him, I actually almost think I would prefer a top 4 just because I really like. I could see I could see 4 out of 5. You're 4 out of the 5 top finishers being JGR. Like, I think that's just how high I am on them this week again. But the thing I like about this bet is, like you said, he is top 5 in the projections, but also there's that tier, right? Like, he is in the top tier. There's a big gap. There's a 10-point gap between him and Byron, who are apart from each other. So I think you're getting in at a fine number. He's someone like, I do want to see how he unloads, but he has unloaded really fast as of lately at this track. And also you look at that momentum driver rating factor that we're now incorporating into things, and the momentum average finish the last 6 races. Ryan Blaney is right there in the top 3. And the interesting thing, like going back to those power rankings to begin the season, Elliot, I'm even more confident Ryan Blaney, like altogether. Maybe the equipment hasn't been exactly what we wanted to so far this season, but I'd still say he is the number 1 driver with the bullet right now because he's also gotten way better at these road courses. Like that's the difference between him and Denny Hamlin, but I think it's them two in a tier of themselves by themselves right now.
Yeah, we don't have a road course again until Watkins Glen in about a month, but Blaney top 5, probably going to be on my card then too. And I love it on pure speed. You saying that Gibbs might be 4 out of the top 5, but the 19, the 20, and the 54 all are susceptible to shooting themselves in the foot and kind of killing their days at times. And
well, so is Blaney though with the pit crew.
Blaney, but if you can overcome the pit crew,
that's kind of what you got to factor in when you're betting him now a little bit too. Like I think like the books aren't going to give you a little bit extra of a squeeze, but I would love it at plus 120. Just like, hey, like just to be square about that. He's got the worst pit crew right now out there.
And with the pit crew too, if that happens anytime except the last stop, Blaney should have the raw speed to come all the way back to the field and probably get back to the top 5 if he's got that kind of car. Like I said, RFK, I've seen all the Brad K comments. Going to talk RFK here in a second. Want to give you the floor on your Denny Hamlin top 5 in case there's any additional commentary you have on it.
Got nothing, man. Just hammer down here. You've been hitting these top 3s on him. I've been kind of just sitting out there. I feel like the Squidward meme a little bit, like watching like Patrick and SpongeBob play outside, and I'm just sitting there like, man, I wish I would have bet Denny Hamlin top 3, and then I finally got invested in the outright, and just got absolutely gypped that last run by Chase Elliott, just having a little bit extra there at the end of that one.
Yeah, and hey, I got the top 3 running it back again. All right, so in the comments here, where we have all this Keselowski, we have Brad Keselowski right there from Nick. We got Keselowski from Bob. Keselowski again from Bob. We got Brad K from Hunter. Outright's a step too far for me, I will say that. But RFK Racing, you guys have shown me that it has been a really impressive year, and I'm going to keep that going here at Bristol. I ran the Hendrick top 5 ladder at Martinsville, hit 2 out of 3, and Kyle Larson had to fuck me over on that. Thanks for that. It was the perfect storm with Larson, because I had him in that top 5 ladder along with Byron and Chase Elliott. But then I also had a Kalshi number on him over the weekend to not finish top 10. So, of course, he runs like 8th, and I hit neither of them. But I'm going back to the well with RFK on a top 10 ladder. And again, you shop the numbers. All 3 of these numbers are from 3 different books on these guys. Keselowski's top 10 best number plus 120 on Caesars. Chris Buescher plus 140 on Bet365. And Ryan Preece plus 225 on theScore. And that includes Kalshi as well. I checked there too. Best numbers all coming from traditional sports books. I think it's going to be a good week for them all once again. Keselowski, I do think an outright, I'm not betting on it, but him being up there, mixing it up with Blaney for a top forward, very well in the possibility. 2 other next-gen top 10s here as well after that runner-up last year where he nearly was able to hold off or to knock off Christopher Bell. You look at Buescher, ran P11 in that race last fall, has a win and 2 other next-gen top 10s here. Ryan Preece has been one of those guys where the runs are better than the finishes, not only this year, but at Bristol. Had a P7 in 2024 for his best finish here in the next gen. But you could make an argument that other than Brad for a race or 2, Preece has been the most consistent RFK car and has run just as well. I do think this is probably another one where it's probably a 2 out of 3 that hit, but I got faith in all 3 of these Jack Roush horses to go up there, run up front, contend for top 10s, if not a little more. But I feel safest at the top 10. So give me the cat in the hat and all 3 of his boys having strong runs at the last great Coliseum.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. Like if I could bet top 15s, if I can bet top 15s.
Yeah, and that's even like the top 20s are probably going to all be unbettable. But yeah,
they are.
Yeah, let me get Keselowski to finish exactly 8th, Buescher to 11th, and Preece 13th.
That's kind of what I see, right? Like I see their finishing position. If they sneak into the top 10, I see them being somewhere between 7 and 10, right? But I can also see them as someone who was just on Ryan Preece pretty heavily a couple of weeks ago. He had a top 10 car early in the race. He didn't get the track position he wanted. His pit crew was kind of effing him over throughout the day. He dropped 3 or 4 spots on pit road every time, and then he would run 11th to 14th. And I think we're going to see something very similar. I do agree with you, though, on the assessment that it's Brad and it's Preece almost for me over Buescher, despite just like I know the projections are a little bit higher on Buescher than that next tier. But it's very, very close. Like it's not a big gap at all. They're kind of all in that one bucket with like Logano, Tyler Reddick, 10th to 15th place cars. That's kind of how I feel about all of them. I do agree though. Preece and Kez have looked a little bit better than Buescher so far this season, just to the eye test.
The other thing about RFK too, you mentioned sometimes the crews lose 3 to 4 spots. You're not seeing either driver nor team make those catastrophic mistakes that can totally ruin your day. So they very well could run 7th to 13th all day. You see a Gibbs car shoot themselves in the foot. You see a Hendrick car shoot themselves in the foot. You see somebody else shoot themselves in the foot, and they're kind of all in there. So like I said, a little 2 out of 3 ain't bad on this. This isn't a parlay, but having all 3 of these numbers, something I'm certainly optimistic about with these guys. And like I said, I mean, I think, like you said, Buescher is he's not running bad. He's kind of the worst out of the 3. Brad winning a race this year feels like a really strong possibility, and Preece can't be too far behind him.
Yeah, if you took the Brad K, I think it was half a win, and I don't think it was much juice you're paying. You probably feel pretty good about it. Probably better than the Buescher. I know we had a couple of people last year who were riding like a -170 Buescher season win total at half a win, and it never came. So Hopefully that's not the case this season, but appreciate what they're doing out there. They've been really good plays in DFS. They've been really, really sharp to bet on for most of the season. And old Jack Roush looking pretty good down in that image you selected. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know how old that picture is. Granted, I don't know how often he comes to the racetrack or puts himself out there, but gotta love the old cat in the hat, still repping there at RFK. So we've talked a lot about top fives, top tens, placement props to be in. You've got a guy to not finish in the top 10.
Yes, sir. I'm going with Carson Hocevar, top 10. No, on that no side, minus 143 at Kalshi. Again, another great way to get invested with NASCAR races now at these prediction markets are betting someone not to finish top 10. And I just thought out of all the drivers, and a lot of those numbers were pretty unbettable, or was drivers I didn't really want to fade. I thought this was a really fine number right now at minus 143. I'm down 2 units on it, Elliot, because it's not a major fade on the Hurricane, but it's a slight fade, right? And I think it's pretty good price to do so. He comes in 16th in the projections, outside the top 10 in every metric we weighed, except for the one that combines the spring race qualifying, driver rating, and finish. And he's been particularly poor at average finish and starting position and total speed rankings at all those comps we mentioned earlier in the show. And here at Bristol, he's also outside the top 20 in total speed rankings in the next gen era. I will say he's gotten better. He had a top 10 run there in the fall, but that was actually one of the only races out of 5 that he's finished top 10 here at Bristol. So I don't love that. The average finish 19.0 as well, and also has an 11.5 average finish in Thunder Valley in the Truck Series. So he's never even been super dominant there. Another reason to fade him maybe on Friday too, and get a little bit more investment going there into Sunday. But also just not great in momentum rating, right? 15.8 average finish at the last 4 traditional ovals. He did have one top 10 that day. I believe it was Darlington. But aside from that, we haven't really seen Hocevar make a ton of noise. And he's just the type of driver, Elliot, that at Bristol I want to fade a bit because he can get back there scrapping and people will not show him the respect he deserves, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that probably hits the nail on the head right there at the end. Is it short tracks you can beat and bang around a little bit? That can get you into trouble, whether you're doing the beating and banging or just being the recipient of it. Bristol has not been good. The high tire wear races for him have not been super great either. But last fall, if I remember correctly, granted, I was a couple beverages in. It had been a long day. We had golfed early in the morning. It was a late night race. But if it were not for a late caution, the way the tire strategies were going to work out, it was the 48 or it was the 77 that was going to win that race. 77 had his pit crew, I think, actually hurt him at both of the Bristol races last year. But in any case, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I don't think Hocevar is a top 10 car. He just hasn't quite hit that stride yet either. Great run at Darlington in a tire wear track to race up into the top 5 there. But again, short track, a lot different than the Lady in Black. And at this number, I think you're on the right track here with the 77. And he could still have a solid day and run 12th, and this still hits.
Yep, agreed.
Couple of matchups we got here. I want to go with Austin Cindric over Ross Chastain at minus 115 on Caesars. This is the one I fucked up because this, I think, is even money at Bet365. That's on me for not double checking the matchup because oftentimes they are the same book to book with different numbers at times. But at a minus 115, I'm still kind of okay with it. And this has nothing to do with Bristol stats at all. Bristol is usually better for Ross than it is for Cindric.
Yep.
This is all off our recent form. And that Cindric, the last 2 weeks, P5 and P8, better runs than I expected out of this team. And this driver, the third Penske car, really strong at places I didn't necessarily expect. Meanwhile, Ross Chastain, expected him to be a little stronger, ran up front on a crazy pit call and then ends up finishing outside the top 15 anyway. His only top 15 of the year was at Atlanta with a P3, and that has the super speedway chaos factor. Speed has not really been there for Trackhouse. It's been there for the 2. It's a toss-up matchup. Give me a little Cindric.
Yeah, I'm okay with it, specifically because of what you said. You're going with the momentum, right? And right now, momentum driver rating last 6 races, Ross Chastain, he is 3 spots below Austin Cindric, and he's 3 spots above him in average finish. So very, very close, but those are also factoring in a road course and at least one super speedway. So yeah, I'm here for it. One of those things that, I would like it at plus money or, the better price tag that you could have got. But if you want to fade Trackhouse, fine by me. I'm tired of investing money in him this season. Aside from SVG, it's going to be you got to prove it to me. And that includes Connor Zilic.
Yeah, I feel that with both those guys. Chamberlain, appreciate the kind words there, right? That Cindric Cross has been absolute butt cheeks. Yeah, that's to put it kindly. It's not been the best start to the year for 2 out of the 3 Trackhouse cars, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, had a really hot start, though. You're riding in your matchup.
Yeah, Tyler Reddick, man, -160 at bet 365 against Kyle Busch. This is maybe the craziest matchup we've seen all season. Like, I will like preface this by saying, Elliot, like I'm not super high on Tyler Reddick this week. Neither are the projections. He's 11th, but that is 10 spots higher than Kyle Busch, nearly 20 IBT grade points as well. And like, other than career average finish at Bristol, which I don't really care about career stats. Like, I'm going to be honest, like that's the one that like me personally, I could like in the model, I could, take it or leave it. But aside from that, an average finish at comps last year, Reddick is better than Rowdy in every single metric we weighed, and particularly really strong in driver rating and average finish momentum as well. 1st to 25th, 1st to 23rd. Like, these are just 2 guys on completely different planets right now. And there's also an 11-point gap in the next gen total speed rankings here at Bristol specifically. Reddick, surprisingly 7th for a guy who doesn't have the best finishes here in Thunder Valley, but still, like, there's just a huge gap in equipment for me, Elliot. You look at the traditional oval finishes, they tell you that 9.3. Reddick's cooled off a little bit lately. Kyle Busch, though, 22.5. Like, you can't bet on Rowdy right now. And like, how many more matchups this season are you going to be able to bet the points leader at a traditional oval, not a road course, not a super speedway, against a 24th place car in the standings? So I think you have to drink the juice at -160.
Yeah, this one is well worth it here. And you can't even, like I said, you can't make the argument about, oh, Kyle Busch has won 1,000,000 times here, because that all was, I believe, all was pre-next gen. One on the dirt here after Briscoe and Reddick took each other out in 23 or 22.
Good point.
And you can't even make the argument either about Reddick being bad on short tracks, because if Reddick has been ass on short tracks, Kyle Busch has been super mega ass 3,000 short tracks. It's not worked out very well for Kyle Busch and RCR this year. And man, there was even a part of me, I saw the other side of this matchup, and for about half a second, I was like, maybe the Kyle Busch number is not bad here. And then I was like, you're absolutely crazy. There's no benefit to betting on Kyle Busch to do anything short of about finishing on the lead lap. It just has not been a good start to the year.
If he even does that, I don't even know if he could do that.
Tyler Reddick can run 23rd and probably still win this matchup. And that's insane, but that's just where we're at right now.
So Elliot, I have some friends who, they drink a lot of Busch Light, and they've been dabbling in some other affairs lately, right? And occasionally, if they're not drinking Busch Light, they've been running Michelob Ultras, and that's still a high quality beer. And then a couple weeks ago, I go down to the barber shop and I have a beer, and we have PBR Light. That's okay too. That's actually not that bad. And then last time I saw them, they were running Keystone Light. That's like a Kyle Busch right now. It's just a little too low tier. And like, even Tyler Reddick, not the best on short tracks. He's like a PBR Light, which I don't know if you've had a PBR Light. I've run PBRs back in the day. I never had a PBR Light before this. Not bad. PBR's got something cooking right there. $20 a case right now. Inflation is not caught up.
Yeah, dude, I didn't even know they made PBR Light, but that's some. I mean, back when we were kids, the big thing was Keith Stone, always smooth. No, not a big Keystone Light fan. Super Mega Ass 3000 should be on a t-shirt. Hey, let's run it. We were talking about an Austin Green t-shirt last week. Now we need Kyle Busch with like a clown nose on. Super Mega Ass 3000. Richard showed us. No, we're not going to do that. No t-shirt sales here as of yet, but maybe catch us in a good mood. And hey, if you want t-shirts, sign up for the IBT Racing family. We can get a print done, and then we can start selling t-shirts. All right, one more bet that I've got on the Cup side, and again relates to a bit of a fade of Chevrolets. Under 3.5 in the top 10 at +120 over on Caesars. This would have hit last fall, and it would have hit in another next gen race here. 2 of the others, so that's 4 out of 6 have had 4. So right on the line to this number. And all those races were in situations without big worries about the Chevrolet body, without worries about how Hendrick Motorsports is running, without, thankfully they get the benefit of the doubt with Chase Elliott and Alan Gustafson pulling off a great pit call to win Martinsville. Yeah. But if that didn't happen, what's the big story this week in the Cup Series? Oh my God, Hendrick Motorsports still hasn't won a race. What are we going to do? Chevrolet body, all a mess. How are they going to get it together? I don't think that they do. I think the Gibbs cars will be dominant. RFK, like I said, I have faith they put 3 guys in the top 10. Doesn't leave a lot of room for Chevrolets. The second tier Chevys, I don't know if there's a lot of value there. Like I said, I don't like Bowman for a top 10. I don't love the Byron top 10 that much. So it's just, there's just not a lot of room here. I'm going the under on this one at plus money.
I think you get the 3, steady HMS drivers. I don't know where the other Chevy comes from, right? Because like you're going to have to hope Carson Hocevar does not hit my bet for this to happen pretty much. Cause he's the only one.
Either hope that, maybe a Suarez. I don't even know.
I would pick SVG over him. Maybe
but if SVG hadn't run Super Mega Ass 3000 at both Bristol races last spring, I would
Dinger usually starts good here, but like that's kind of the conversation you're getting in. I think the books are factoring in. Like this feels like a bet that I would not want to make if Alex Bowman was at 100%, right? Because he's kind of that fourth guy I think that pushes us over to the top. This actually might be my favorite play of all night. This is a really nice one.
I appreciate the kind words, man. Best for last in the Cup Series, I guess. I got some O'Reilly and truck bets. And hey, the most obvious bets of the week, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney for me. Running it back in the O'Reilly series with your each and every week play.
Yeah, I mean, we just got to keep betting at this point. Like, it's insane that we keep getting these good of odds on Justin Allgaier, top 5, -130 at Bet365. I've seen, some shops, hey, this is a -200 bet. I've seen other ones, like our friends out here in Pittsburgh, saying, hey, it's all right. Let's have a little icy light and, have some good times here on Saturday. He's done this 6 out of 8 times this season. Average finish of 6.6, and that includes a road course. That includes 2 super speedways as well. And you look at what he's done at Bristol, man. Like, I just want to go through his laps led in the last 10 starts. 95, 9. Okay, he sucked that one time. 60, 110, 148, 92, 126, 156, 131, 138. Like, this guy has been nails here. He did have a 6th place run in the fall, but that was a race that, again, he was out front. He started on the pole, just ended up not having the best strategy call there at the end of that race. And then before that, though, he had a 3rd place finish. Another race, he did have a 30th place finish, but again, some bad luck. That was the piano dropping phase of Allgaier, but then it's 1st, it's 9th, it's 4th, it's 5th. This guy's just been consistent, man. And like, I think it's him or Larson who win this race. I would have bet Larson on the outright instead, but it's Justin Allgaier is the reason I can't do that, right? So I can't, do a -105, -110 Kyle Larson bet when Justin Allgaier has been maybe the hottest he's ever been in his career. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, he's benefiting from kind of a weaker O'Reilly series field, but that's no discount to how well that he's running.
Yeah.
All right, so JRM, again, the big play here and leads to our second squad ride of the night. This was one that I was so confident in that I was going to include it even without betting it. The only book that as of this afternoon had top 5 odds was BetRivers at +135, was this Carson Kvapil top 5. I was like, man, I want to see what the other books have. Sure enough, you throw in +180 at Caesars for the Carson Kvapil top 5. Slam dunk bet for me. I mean, I got to get on these Allgaiers with you because it just keeps hitting. But for me, the Kvapil top 5 has also just kept hitting as well. Everything to love with this kid as of late. Doesn't matter if he's in the 1 or the 9, still able to run really strong. You look at last year, P2 and P4 here, led some laps in those races, and he would have 3 top 5s in a row if not for Lee Pulliam's missed shift at Martinsville.
Yeah.
So a variety of different tracks here. And even without the benefit of Rodney Childers, he didn't have Rodney Childers here last year, P2, P4, like I said. In terms of the best of the rest, I'm not guaranteeing a Larson win. Allgaier, anything can happen to him. Kvapil, again, still need a little more to get that first win. Clearly, we can see that. But him being in that top 5 mix is one of the steady eddies of the O'Reilly series so far this year.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And if we can just keep on the beer comps for a minute, going from the 1 to the 9 is like going from a Busch Light to a Busch Light Apple. Like, you're still cooking with gas, baby, right? And
yeah, but the Apple is the 1 because I'm calling that better than the. Well, it's a different flavor, but just as strong. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But regardless, started P3 in that spring race, scored 9 stage points, started P11 in the fall, scored 9 stage points again, right? This guy's on a heater. I think +180 is a really good number on him. Again, I'm doing the same thing I did last week. I took Sammy Smith for half unit and then threw a couple units down on Justin Allgaier. I'm throwing 3 on Allgaier. I'm throwing half a unit here on Kvapil just in case something happens. But yeah, he's been really impressive. Like, early in the season, I wasn't confident with how he was performing, specifically after we got out of COTA, where he looked really good a season ago. But he's starting to find that footing a bit more. Love High Rock back on the car, too. I've not had High Rock yet. I don't really allow myself to drink much vodka because it goes down like candy and I get myself in trouble. But I'm sure you've dabbled a time or two.
So yeah, they don't sell it in Pennsylvania yet, so that's why we
Okay.
haven't found it. But one time I was in the great state of West Virginia and picked myself up a bottle of High Rock and went
Mm.
down pretty smooth. It was a good mixer, and the bottle. I mean, it took a few months. I'm not sitting here drinking a bottle of vodka every night on the show like I am some of these
Yeah.
Busches. But the whole bottle went down pretty smooth throughout the couple of months that it took or whatever. The occasional mixed drink here and there. They got some on the bottle. They got some Dale Jr.'s recipe for like a screwdriver or something, and Amy's recipe for some other shit. I have it in the other room. I'll have to pull it up and send it over to you. But it definitely is a solid vodka and looks great on the car too. Even making the diecast, they're bringing back the 1/64ths for hard liquor. So that'll look nice up on this shelf here in about 9 months when it comes in.
What's your go-to mixer with vodka? Because I'm probably an OJ guy, but if I'm not at home and I don't have access to OJ, like lemonade is probably my lemonade and Sprite are probably that's probably my big three: lemonade, Sprite, and OJ. What about you?
Yeah, probably about the same. I'm not a super interesting drinker. I'll be honest with you. Like,
Yeah,
there's a little Minute Maid zero sugar lemonade, or maybe like Sprite and some grenadine. What's that? A Shirley Temple or something. So that's also been drank in this household a couple of times. But either way, solid pick. The top, I probably like the top 5 bet a little more than the vodka. The vodka is great, but I mean, I'm just that confident in this top 5 bet for Quapple.
I like it.
Talking about the truck series now too. Pretty confident in. What's the saying? Your watch? I'm not wearing a watch. It'd be a better gig if I was. Be a better thing I'm wearing a watch. You got a watch on. Tell me what time it is, Seth. Tell me what time it is. Looks like
Heim time. Right? It is Heim time. Fired up.
Looks like Heim time, and it's been nothing but Heim time in the truck series. You just can't stop them right now. Going for the 500K. Won this here in 2023, I believe it was in the fall. Since then, P6, P2, and a pair of P3s, 209 laps led. I know this field is stacked with Cup drivers. I don't give a damn. Corey Heim, Triple Truck Challenge winner, done.
Yeah. Hey, that is fine, man. For me, I pivoted a little bit. I should have been on it last week with you. I was really tempted to, and then I missed a better number. I was like, I'm just good on the top 5.
I did see some people find, I forget if it was top 3 or top 5, but there was some book that put out a ridiculous top 3 or top 5 number, like a 3-1 or a 4-1 on Heim last week, and made some big time money. This was like right before the race started. On Friday.
Wow. Okay. Was that on the general internet? I imagine that was not on the IBT family.
I ran into that on Twitter. Yeah. And I just wasn't quick enough to jump on it myself, but I saw some people.
Well, congratulations to that one. Yeah. I paid a little bit of juice there. I'm drinking some more juice here. Minus 175, 2.5 units down on this one. And like, I've been seeing him go for as low as minus 275, Elliot, and minus 200 to every other place too. So like, again, our friends in Pittsburgh giving us a pretty drinkable number. It's a heavy glass, right? I mean, you're going to get drunk off it, but you're only paying it if you lose, right? And you look at what Corey Heim has done here at Bristol specifically last year. Started second, finished third, led 122 laps. Stage 2, he won that. Stage 1, he finished second. And then you keep going back through these finishes: third, second, sixth, first. This is a guy who has won a ton of stages here. He's always up front leading laps at Bristol. And like, just based on how he's running, dude, like you can't fade Corey Heim. For me, like just because last week, like I was a little shocked at like how his speed kind of went away at the end and how everyone kind of seemed to. So like that and the Cup Series drivers being here gives me pause, and that's why I'm going just back to the top 5. But it would be really hard. Like he'd have to wreck out or have mechanical issues, I think, not to finish top 5 at least. Yeah,
completely agree with you. How about this? We're talking about drinks. If we get this Heim outright to hit and the Quapple top 5. Mix up a little Celsius and High Rock. And
I'll tell you what, I ran Celsius one time in my life. I ain't a caffeine guy. That was my first time.
Celsius is gonna fuck you up if you're not.
Oh, I felt unwell honestly for about a week. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like I was unwell for like a week. I'm not a caffeine guy, but they're tasty though for energy drinks. They smell a lot better and taste a lot better than the other ones do.
Yeah, it's almost that they're the leader in that brand of like healthier energy drinks.
Yeah.
I'll still rip an Amp Energy from 2008 though. Shout out Dale Jr. there. Getting me started on that. A couple more truck top 5s before we get to the head.
Shout out to Dale Jr. for getting you hooked on energy drinks at 12.
No, I wasn't drinking them much back then, but as you grow, it starts to, that's the first choice when there's.
Mark is a Big Red guy. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Favorite drink is Big Red. They were talking like Big Reds, the old Big Red sodas.
I think that's probably where I at first I was thinking Code Red, but maybe it's Big
Red. There is a soda called Big Red, and I remember that. So there's a national soda called Big Red, and then in my little hometown in northeastern Pennsylvania, There's a bottling company there. Have you ever heard of Moxie, the soda? They are one of the few people
No.
who still do Moxie.
Okay.
There's got to be someone in these comments who drinks Moxie, but they also had a Big Red soda, and Big Red sued Little Catawissa Bottling Company and made them change their Big Red. So Big Red's out there, and Big Red, we're going to throw a Talladega Nights. I hope Jamie's still watching.
Yes.
Marcus's opinion: if you don't drink Big Red, then fuck you.
Fuck you. Yes.
Hey, if you're not on these bets too, no. All right, a couple of top fives here. Chandler Smith top 5 for me, plus 275 via theScore, and just one of those guys where I had that inkling when I saw the numbers, saw the drivers here. I knew Heim was going to win this race. Wasn't comfortable betting an outright here on any other guys in the field really. But Chandler Smith, we've seen him run pretty well this year. DQ'd last week, but ended up running from deep in the field to run 4th. And his Bristol stats really, really strong as well. Rough race last fall with electrical issues, but his teammate wins the race. So the truck was probably pretty good. And you look at the stats before that, P2, P5, P9, and a pair of wins here in the truck series. So a guy who knows his way around Bristol, not just in the trucks, but when he was in the O'Reilly Series 2, has a pole, a P3, and a P5 on his resume. I know the Cup guys kind of inflate this number. They kind of make this a little more difficult. Again, I don't love all the Cup guys, and I think Chandler Smith mixing it up in the top 5, very, very reasonable.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good number on a guy who looked really good here last year, right? So, yeah, I don't hate that at all. I think Front Row Motorsports is honestly maybe going to have, in addition to Tricon, the trucks to beat, right? Like, I think it's a race between them, Tricon, and Kyle Busch. Like, that's kind of how I sort out this top 5. So to get a plus 275 on Chandler, like, Lane was floating out there around minus 110, minus 120 for a top 5. And I just need a little bit more with all the Cup guys being in this race. So I like that a lot. I also like Chase Briscoe, top 5, plus 225. Again, friends in Pittsburgh out there really making it work over at BetRivers. Half a unit down for me. He's in that Tricon number 5. And last time we saw Chase Briscoe in the truck series, it was that 2023 Bristol Dirt. He started P10. He did score stage points in P2, though, and finished P7 in the AM Racing 22. And then next year or year before that, finished P5 in Roper Racing's number 4, Elliot. So this is a guy who's done it here, at least slung around on some dirt pretty well, and also finished top 5 in his last 4 O'Reilly Series races in Thunder Valley.
Yeah, man. Some of those entries in those dirt races were a lot of fun. You had like Kevin Harvick running the 17 truck, Truex taking the win in one of those KBM trucks. And some good entries there for Chase Briscoe. Not on dirt this week. I'm sure he'd love that, but it'll be neat to see him as one of those guys down there and one of the better trucks, which leads into our head-to-head matchups contest picks for the week. Let's bring up our leaderboard. We didn't run it last week, no Cup race, but leaderboard going back from Martinsville. Chris, still your leader, winning 6. Myself, Kyle, just 1 behind him there. You got Lars and Blaze Wolf CJ with 3, as well as you, Seth. I don't want to. You're very kind. You throw yourself on the left hand or on the right hand side, even though you're tied for 4th there. Jake, Rod, Trav, and others still just at 1. I know Trav is one of the guys who's he's showing off that he's going on a trip out of the country, so not betting. I think that was Trav. Either way, I'm hoping not to dox anybody.
Hey, that's all right. Trav ran away with our touchdown call contest during the NFL season. Wasn't even close. So if Trav wants to take a couple more weeks off, that is fine by me, because he's gonna make a charge in one of these, and I do not want to be behind him.
Yeah, hey, we'll see what happens with the 48. Maybe missing a couple weeks doesn't completely take you out of the mix. It does, but we'll talk about that later. Chase Briscoe is who I have in the matchups contest this week in the truck series, plus 105 over Ross Chastain. Equipment edge to Briscoe. How they're running lately, edge to Briscoe. And I think they're both going to run well. This is going to be a 3rd to 8th place battle probably throughout the night, if not even a little higher. I like Briscoe on the plus money. I like the equipment better, and I'm going with the 5 here over the 45.
Yeah, I almost bet this, actually. I saw this earlier, too, and I thought the wrong truck was favored. So I know Ross mixes it up down here with the lower series a bit more than Briscoe does. I don't care. I think Briscoe's in better equipment. I think if there's one track you feel pretty good about Chase Briscoe coming up in, it's a place that his last couple truck series starts where I know is on dirt, but same venue, same type of thing. So, yeah, I like that a lot. For me, I'm just going to go back. Red Dog over Rowdy. Minus 160, bet 365. That's where we're going, baby.
Yep, you talked about this one earlier. Certainly nothing wrong with that. And I got a couple matchups on the card this week. If you want to see the full card, you can go into the IBT Racing family. Still giving away some spots. Again, We love that you're in the live chat, but the entries to this giveaway are going to be in the regular comments of this video. That's the paid tier, the head-to-head contest, exclusive betting model access, and access to our full cards. Free to join the conversation and enter into memorabilia giveaways, which apparently you're throwing out the spoiler. One of those is going to be a Frankie Muniz diecast, assuming that gets produced. One more, we're going to leave on a bet that neither of us made, but Chamberlain bringing up Christian Eckes in the trucks, a 3.8 average finish. Could be worth looking at that top 5. We'll have to take a look and let you know in the Discord. So get on over there. We might be looking at that. Great show tonight. Appreciate everyone with the comments, and thanks to everyone for tuning in. Seth, always a lot of great things going on here at In Between Media.
Yeah, man, we have been just cashing tickets, right? It's the NFL offseason, but it hasn't stopped us. We've started to put together our future cards over there. NFL draft coming up in just under 2 weeks here, man, but back in our home state, in your hometown, Pittsburgh, out there right now. So looking forward to that. We've been building our portfolio for the futures market there now that Kalshi allows us to bet the NFL draft in PA. So, we're riding highs there. We're riding highs in the entertainment betting streets. The Masters is still ripping. So make sure you guys are checking that out. Like Chamberlain, I know Blaze is in there, but Hunter, like everyone who's Stan, all these people, Nick, all these like sharp minds. I want to continue the conversation with y'all over there. So in-betweenmedia.com/chat, free to join. Come over, hang out with us there. And also that sub channel right now, popping. Elliot's been doing a great job putting out a few videos every single week there. So get some more opinions, get some more insights, some more bets, all that great stuff happening over there at youtube.com/@the_backroad, baby.
It's the place to be, man. Thanks a million, everyone, for riding on down the back road with us tonight. Best of luck on your bets over the weekend. See you next time.